Hey y'all, today is April 21st and we are doing a mini lesson to review lesson 8.5 and 8.6. Now remember 8.5, we talked about circumference of a circle, and in 8.6 we talked about area of a circle. So on this first page of our little mini lesson, we are going to find the circumference of each circle. So let's start right here with number 2. Now we need to remember our circumference formula. Our circumference formula is C equals 2 times pi times the radius. Okay, that's the one I'm going to use for all of these just to keep it simple. So 2 times pi times the radius. So we are given a radius here. We know our radius is 8. So we have C equals 2 times 3.14 for pi times the radius of 8. And I'm just going to type that into my calculator. So let's go to our Desmos calculator. 2 times 3.14 times the radius of 8, and I get 50.24. So the circumference is 50.24, and I keep my unit yards. Okay, let's look at number 4. This time I've been given a diameter, and I'm going to stick to using the same formula, C equals 2 times pi times the radius. So I need to figure out what my radius is. Well, I know that my radius goes from one edge to the center. So it's half of the diameter. So if the diameter is 28, the radius is half of that. 28 divided by 2 is going to be 14. So now I'm ready to use my formula. C equals 2 times 3.14 times 14. And we're going to type that into our calculator. So we go back here, 2 times 3.14 times 14, and I get 87.92. So the circumference is 87.92 meters. Okay, moving on to number 6. So this time, again, I've been given a diameter, and I'm going to use the same formula, C equals 2 times pi times the radius. Now, I know that the radius goes from one edge to the center, so it's half of the diameter. So if my diameter is 13, my radius is half of that. So 13 divided by 2 is 6.5. So my radius is 6.5. So I'm going to use that in my formula. C equals 2 times 3.14 for pi times 6.5. And now I'm just going to plug that into my calculator. So back to the calculator, 2 times 3.14 times 6.5, and I get 40.82. So the circumference is 40.82 kilometers. Okay, number 8. This time I've been given a radius. That's awesome because that's very useful in my formula. C equals 2 times pi times the radius. So I'm just going to start plugging some things in. So C equals 2 times 3.14 times my radius of 12.5. So let's just take that to our calculator and plug it in. So 2 times 3.14 times 12.5, and I get 78.5. So the circumference is 78.5 meters. Okay. So now let's move on to number 10. So this one's different because it's a semicircle. So we know that a semicircle is half of a circle, but there's a method that I have to follow here. So step 1, I'm going to find half of the circumference. And then step 2 is that I need to add the diameter. Okay, Now notice the measurement given to me goes from one edge to the other edge. So I've been given the diameter. So we know that D equals 22. I need to find my radius. My radius is 1/2 of that. So 22 divided by 2 is 11. That's going to help me when I find my circumference. So remember, circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, right? But I'm going to multiply that times 1/2. So 1/2 times 2 times pi times the radius, right? So let's plug some things in. C equals 1/2 times 2 times 3.14 for pi times the radius of 11. So let's just put that in my calculator. Keep in mind, I'm not going to use 1/2 in my calculator. I'm going to use 0.5, okay? So we have 0.5 times 2 times 3.14 times 11. And we end up with 34.54, okay? Now, I need to add my diameter to that. So let's just go ahead and C equals 34.54. But step 2 is to add the diameter. So I'm going to add 22 to that. So I find that I get 56.54 inches. My circumference or my perimeter of this semicircle is 56.54 inches. Okay, moving on to number 12. If the minute hand on a clock below has a radius of 7.5 inches, how far will the hand travel in a 24-hour day? Okay, so what I know about the minute hand on a clock, it's this longer one right here, and it rotates 1 time every hour. So it goes all the way around 1 time every hour. So it's going to go around, it's going to make 24 revolutions, right? It's going to go around 24 times in one 24-hour day. Okay, we know that the radius is 7.5 inches. So let's first find the circumference. Circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. So circumference is 2 times 3.14 times 7.5. Well, let's take that to our calculator. So we have 2 times 3.14 times 7.5. And we get 47.1. So the circumference for 1 hour is 47.1 inches. But it's going to do that 24 times. So 47.1 times 24 is going to tell us how far that hand will travel in one day. So I'm going to hit this answer button, and then I'm going to multiply that times 24, and I get 1,130.4. So 1,130.4 inches in one 24-hour day. That's how far that minute hand will travel. Okay, let's move on to some area examples. So find the area of each circle. So to find the area of each circle, we're going to use our area formula. Remember, our area formula is A equals pi times the radius squared. Okay, so in number 2, I've been given the radius. That's awesome. So area equals 3.14 for pi times 5 squared. So I'm going to put this into my calculator. So we have 3.14 times, my radius is 5, but I have to square that. So I'm going to hit this A squared button in the top left, and I get 78.5. So 78.5 is my area, 78.5 meters squared. Okay, let's move on to number 4. This time I've been given the diameter, so I need to know my radius. Well, my diameter is 2 times the radius. If the diameter is 26, the radius is half of that. 26 divided by 2 is 13. Oops. So that's what I'm going to use in my formula. So remember the formula for area of a circle. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So let's plug some things in. Area equals 3.14 for pi times 13, and I'm going to square that 13. So now I'm ready to take this to my calculator. So we've got 3.14 times 13, and don't forget to square that, and I get 530.66. So the area is 530.66, and it's kilometers squared. Okay, moving on to number 6. Again, I have a circle with a radius here, so I don't need to figure anything out. I'm just going to use my formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So area equals 3.14 for pi. My radius is 1.2, and I'm going to square that. So now I'm ready to take this to my calculator. So we have 3.14 times the radius 1.2. Don't forget to square that. And I get 4.5216. So my area is 4.5216 meters squared. Okay, number 8. Again, I have a circle with a radius for me. So I'm just going to use my formula. Area equals pi times the radius squared. So area equals 3.14 times 10.4, and I'm going to square that 10.4. So now I'm ready to put this into my calculator. So 3.14 times 10.4 squared, and I get 339.6224. So area equals 339.6224 inches squared. Okay, so now let's look at number 10. Number 10 is different because we have a semicircle. So we're just going to find half the area because it's half the circle. It takes up half the space. Okay, so we don't need to add diameter back in. We just need to find half of the area. So notice we've been given a diameter. I don't want a diameter. I need a radius. So if my diameter is 5 feet, my radius is going to be half of that. 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. So I know that my radius is 2.5 feet. So normally we use the formula pi times the radius squared. I'm just going to multiply that times 1/2. So we have area equals 1/2 times 3.14 times 2.5, and don't forget to square that 2.5. So now I'm just going to take that and plug it into my calculator. Instead of using 1/2 like that in my calculator, I'm going to use 0.5. Okay? So we have 0.5 times 3.14 times my radius, which was 2.5, and I need to square that. And I get 9.8125. So my area is 9.8125 feet squared. So remember, all we have to do is find half of the area because it takes up half of the space because it's just half of a circle. Okay, number 12, the last one. Jane has a circular garden with a diameter of 16 feet. If one bag of fertilizer covers 30 square feet, how many bags will she need to cover the garden? Okay, so first we're going to need to find the area of the garden. And we know it's a circular garden, so I'm going to draw a circle. And we know that there's a diameter of 16 feet. Diameter means it goes from one edge to the other. So diameter is not super helpful in my area formula, so I need to figure out what my radius is. Well, if the diameter is 16, the radius is half of that. 16 divided by 2 is 8. So I'm going to use the radius of 8 feet in my formula to find area. So area of the garden is going to be pi times the radius squared, right? So area is going to be 3.14 times 8, and we're going to square that 8. So I'm going to take this to my calculator to figure out what the area is. So 3.14 times 8 squared, and I get 200.96. So my area is 200.96 square feet, right? Now that's not our answer. We know that one bag of fertilizer covers 30 square feet. We want to know how many bags she's going to need for her garden. So we're going to take the area of the garden, 200.96, and we're going to divide it by the number of square feet that one bag covers. And that should tell us how many bags she will need. So 200.96 divided by 30. So I'm going to hit this answer button, and I'm going to divide that by 30, and I get 6.698, and it keeps on going, right? Now, she can't buy 6.69 bags of fertilizer. That's not possible. So we're going to need to round. Now, if she only buys 6 bags, does she have enough? No. So she's going to need to buy 7 bags. We're going to have to round up. So notice we got oops, I don't know what just happened. There we go. We got a long decimal, 6.69, and it kept on going. But that's not possible, so we're going to round up. She's going to need to buy 7 bags of fertilizer to make sure that she has enough to cover her garden. So that is the end of our review on circumference and area of circles. Have a great day.